Okay, so we are in Jeremiah 47 today. Let's start in prayer. My schedule has been a little weird, adapting to a couple different factors that normally I would have the morning to come here and do my Bible reading, but I've got like 3 other commitments that I've been dealing with, so I'm going to try to stay committed to doing this, but it's got to be a little more flexible here. So I'm here a little later than I normally would, but that's fine. So let's start in prayer from Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I don't know if you could hear him. I think he's having some good, Jack seems like he's in good spirits, so praise God for that. Anyway, sorry, so many different, all over the place. So starting with chapter 45, we got into a new area here in Jeremiah where it's talking about judgment on all these different nations here. So last time it focused on Egypt. Now, I think Egypt was prophesied to be, in the end, Egypt is actually going to worship the true one living God. They're actually going to turn around and do the right thing. I don't know if I got my tie. I don't think I got that right either. I had to grab my shirt and put it on. Normally I'd put it on before I get here. I had to put it on as I got here. So, but anyway, last time we talked about Egypt. So immediately here, where is Jeremiah? You know, he was taken captive and brought to Egypt, but it's going to be inevitable that Egypt's going to get judged also and conquered by Babylon. So them fleeing to Egypt wasn't, that's not really the solution. You're just running away from God by doing that. You're not surrendering to Him. God was asking them to stay in the land, the remnant that was left there. But because of the conspiracy with the governor, I can't remember his name now. Was it Gedaliah? He was the one who was murdered by Ishmael. So they're worried. They flee to Egypt. It's not going to help them. Jeremiah explains this to them. They don't listen. But anyway, he's relaying all these prophecies against these Gentile powers. Egypt, he starts with, that's where he is, so that's where he starts with. That makes sense. But anyway, I've been thinking lately overall this section. I'd like to do a video about it. I don't know if my voice will still be standing after we read through this today, but I'd like to do a video about this, talking about the Gentile powers. I mean, it's at this time, but this is also going to happen in the future, which I think is what it kind of says in this note here. A near and a far fulfillment of these prophecies against Gentile powers are to be distinguished. In chapter 46, the near vision is of a Babylonian invasion of Egypt, right? But verses 27 and 28 look forward to the judgment of the nations, which is Matthew 25:32 note. After Armageddon, Revelation 16:14, Revelation 19:17 note, and the deliverance of Israel, Jeremiah chapter 50, 4-7, also looks forward to the last days. So my mind went there, you know, even though we're not quite to Jeremiah 50, but yeah. So these nations are being judged at this time here where Jeremiah is, but I think it's also a picture of the future, which is what I wanted to do a video about. Hopefully I'll be able to do that here in a bit. But anyway, we're reading from 47. So we talked about Egypt being judged, but now it's going to be against Philistia and Tyre, etc. Philistia, Philistine, it's an ongoing villain against them, really. It's also a, I think, I heard a translation of it also meaning foreigner. I don't know what that could have implications of. I mean, you could go into that discussion, but I'm not going to pursue that. I'm looking at it more from the perspective of Palestine. Today they feel that they have a right to the land. When you read, I don't mean to keep bringing up the extracurricular books, but in JER, it's interesting, some of the discussion points related to when Jacob and Esau, when they meet up again later after their father's funeral. Jacob actually gives up. I mean, in that story, I don't know if you can take the book of Jasher, you know, as serious, you know, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just telling you the discussion points there are interesting because it's related to this subject. Jacob intentionally, that's what he takes for his inheritance, is the land deed. So Esau gets all of his father's livestock. Now, the funny thing about that is the famine sets in shortly after that, right? So all that livestock is irrelevant, right? But Jacob gets the land deed that they think at that time, oh, that's irrelevant, you know. But then, so from a legal perspective, they had every right to it. But then the Philistines, which are a part of that group that are in that argument there, in that inheritance scene, and that's the claim today, is that, no, we have the right to the land, and they don't, really, you know. It's Israel, it's Jacob that has every right to the land, and they have every right to really that whole region. They've never really pursued. Their total inheritance is actually much bigger than what they have there right now. So for And that's a whole other discussion point. But I was just setting that, just with that title, that's what that made me go into. I'm sorry. Anyway, I seem to be having problem with the camera there. Okay. Verse 1 of chapter 47. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith the Lord, behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl at the noise of the stamping of the hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For the Lord will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor. Baldness is come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest, and be still. How can it be quiet, seeing the Lord hath given it a charge against Ashkelon, and against the sea shore? There hath he appointed it. Whoa! There's the sea again, that monster coming out of the sea. Verse 6, that makes me think of how patient he is. And that's also a discussion point of something all about this, the Gentile nations. How patient is he, really, with all of us? How much time does he give all of these different... Gives us so much time, so patient. He could whip out that sword and wipe us out just any, but he is so slow to anger and so patient and so amazing. But judgment is coming, and that's what this is describing here. All right, against Moab. That was a short chapter there. We're moving on to Moab. Against Moab, chapter 48, verse 1. Against Moab, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Woe unto Nebo, for it is spoiled. Kiriathaim is confounded and taken. Misgab is confounded and dismayed. There shall be no more praise of Moab. In Heshbon they have devised evil against it. Come and let us cut it off from being a nation. Also thou shalt be cut down, O madman. The sword shall pursue thee. A voice of crying shall be from Horonaim, spoiling and great destruction. Moab is destroyed, her little ones have caused a cry to be heard. For in the going up of Luhith, continual weeping shall go up. For in the going down of Horonaim, the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, save your lives, and be like the heath in the wilderness. For because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken, and Chemosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. And the spoiler shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as the Lord hath spoken. Well, there he describes Chemosh, so another pagan So Chemosh is the main god of the Moabites, apparently. I don't really know too much about Chemosh. I mean, I've heard about, it's probably just another name for another god that's described in Greek mythology or something, you know. But anyway, the consistent theme with all of that is human sacrifice, and that's all really bad stuff. Chemosh. And Chemosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. 8. And the spoiler shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as the Lord hath spoken. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away, for the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. I don't get it. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away, for the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, or negligently. Wow. There's a little note here for negligently. And cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. That's what I want to do a video on, is about well, think about this time of what this is, this judgment against these Gentile powers, and what they represent. They present that picture of Chemosh, a pagan god. It's evil. You got human sacrifice, all this bad stuff. And what's the result? Judgment comes down on that nation. But then it says that. The first, like verse 10, I don't get it. Like, what is it saying there? Is it talking about somebody that's not doing what he's supposed to as far as worshiping and preaching about God? Or negligently, deceitfully? And then the second part, I think I understand what the second part is saying, but I don't get the first part. Is it talking about somebody like me that's kind of incompetent, negligent, maybe guilty of sin, but is doing the work of God, but is negligent in some way? I don't know. Or is it talking about corrupt pastors, corrupt priests that are not presenting it how they should present it? I don't know. But the second part, I feel like that's talking about if you're in a situation of judgment and punishment has to be meted out, you know, you better do it. Because otherwise you're allowing some evil to remain in your presence, and then that's going to end up biting you in the butt anyway. Like when they take the land and they don't wipe out certain areas, you know, that becomes a thorn in their side. That's why he's advising to wipe it all out. See, if you keep back your sword because you don't want to I don't want to be too mean or too cruel. Then what happens? You get the same problems. I don't know. That's confusing. I need help with 10. 11. Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on his lees, and hath not been emptied from vessel to vessel, neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his scent is not changed. It's another interesting verse. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send unto him wanderers, that shall cause him to wander, and shall empty his vessels, and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Beth El, their confidence. Wow. How say ye, we are mighty and strong men for the war? Moab is spoiled, and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are gone down to the slaughter, saith the King, whose name is the Lord of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. All ye that are about him bemoan him, and all ye that know his name say, How is the strong staff broken, and the beautiful rod? Thou daughter that dost inhabit Dibon, come down from thy glory, and sit and thirst. For the spoiler of Moab shall come upon thee, and he shall destroy thy strongholds. O inhabitant of Roar, stand by the way and espy. Ask him that fleeth, and her that escapeth, and say, What is done? Moab is confounded, for it is broken down. Howl and cry, tell ye it in Arnon, that Moab is spoiled. And judgment is come upon the plain country, upon Holon, and upon Jehaza, and upon Maphath, and upon Dibon, and upon Nebo, and upon Beth Diblathaim, and upon Kiriathaim, and upon Beth Gamul, and upon Beth Meon, and upon Kirioth, and upon Bozrah, and upon all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab is cut off, and his arm is broken, saith the Lord. Make ye him drunken, for he magnified himself against the Lord. Moab also shall wallow in his vomit, and he also shall be in derision. Drunkenness. That's one thing I wanted to talk about also. Notice that theme of drunkenness. There it is again. 27. For was not Israel a derision unto thee? Was he found among thieves? For since thou spakest of him, thou skippedst for joy. O ye that dwell in Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides. In the sides of the hole's mouth. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud. His loftiness and his arrogancy, and his pride and the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, saith the Lord, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not so affect it. Therefore will I howl for Moab, and I will cry out for all Moab. Mine heart shall mourn for the men of Kir-Harez. O vine of Sibmah, I will weep for thee with the weeping of Jazer. Thy plants are gone over the sea. They reach even to the sea of Jazer. The spoiler is fallen upon thy summer fruits and upon thy vintage. And joy and gladness is taken from the plentiful field and from the land of Moab. And I have caused wine to fail from the wine presses. None shall tread with shouting. Their shouting shall be no shouting. From the cry of Heshbon even unto Alialah, and even unto Jahaz, have they uttered their voice. From Zoar, even unto Horonaim, as an heifer of 3 years old, for the waters also of Nimrim shall be desolate. Moreover, I will cause to cease in Moab, saith the Lord, him that offereth in the high places, and him that burneth incense to his gods. Therefore mine heart shall sound for Moab like pipes, and mine heart shall sound like pipes for the men of Kirharez, because the riches that he hath gotten are perished. For every head shall be bald, and every beard clipped. Upon all the hands shall be cuttings, and upon the loins sackcloth. There shall be lamentation generally upon all the housetops of Moab, and in the streets thereof. For I have broken Moab like a vessel wherein is no pleasure, saith the Lord. They shall howl, saying, How is it broken down? How hath Moab turned back with shame? So shall Moab be a derision and a dismaying to all them about him. For thus saith the Lord, Behold, he shall fly as an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. There's the eagle. Kerioth is taken, and the strongholds are surprised, and the mighty men's hearts in Moab at that day shall be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. And Moab shall be destroyed from being a people, because he hath magnified himself against the Lord. Fear and the pit and the snare shall be upon thee, O inhabitant of Moab, saith the Lord. He that fleeth from the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that getteth up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare, for I will bring upon it, even upon Moab, the year of their visitation, saith the Lord. That's a key verse right there. You've seen that multiple times, though, in other places, probably. I don't have an accompanying reference there, but what is it saying there in 44? It's saying you can't escape it. You know, judgment is coming down. When that judgment is coming, you might think, well, I'll hide in this hole. I'll be fine down here. And then what happens? The water in the hole starts boiling, and poison gas comes in from the sewer system. Like, for example, this city, our sewer system is completely broken. You know, my grandfather, big deal engineer in this city, and he predicted years ago that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm going way out there, I know, but he predicted that the sewer system in the city would eventually just completely collapse. And you see that happening, actually. The sewer in front of our store is breaking down. I don't even think they've even fixed it yet. And that has to do with also societal collapse. Why do you think the plague was so bad back in the Middle Ages? It's because everything was breaking down, and you lose the plumbing system, that starts spreading diseases also. Goes along with everything going on with the push for the pandemic, and it could become a real pandemic pretty quick here. But anyway, I got way off topic. The bottom line of the subject there of 44 is you can't escape it once it starts coming. You might think you might have your escape route all planned, but maybe on the way to the escape route you get carjacked or something, you know? There's so many different factors going on. When the judgment hits, all these people buying gold and thinking they're going to profit off of the calamities approaching, you know.
What if your gold what if somebody just breaks in and steals all your gold that you piled up, you know? Maybe there is no actual gold left. Maybe they've all piled it somewhere else. You might have a piece of paper that says, I own 15 bars of gold. I'm rich. Now when the gold market goes up 482%, I will be a billionaire. I'll be Goldfinger. Ho! Operation Grand Slam. But then you just get shot as you leave your house, thinking you're going to go collect your gold. Bang. Well, that's it. You know, you can't really escape it, even though you think, I've prepared for this. I've gathered all this food. Oh, look at these brigands. They're breaking into my house. Oh, they stole all my food. You can't escape it. All right, 45. Let's finish this. 45. They that fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon because of the force. But a fire shall come forth out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sion, and shall devour the corner of Moab, and the crown of the head of the tumultuous ones. Woe be unto thee, O Moab! The people of Chemosh perisheth, for thy sons are taken captive, and thy daughters captives. Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days, saith the Lord. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. And there, see, and then he even clarifies it there. So judgment is coming then at Jeremiah's time, but it's also in latter days too. So there you go. Now, where is Moab today? I'm not sure. I used to know it. Maybe you can comment that. I'm sure it's a region somewhere in the Middle East there. Anyway, bottom line, judgment's coming down in general on all of us Gentile nations. You're not going to be able to escape it. I think you should go with Christ. I think that's your best solution. Surrender to Him. We'll continue with 49 next time. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.